Kalamazoo, Marcus.
My pleasure.
What a pleasure and an opportunity to visit with one of the rock stars of content marketing and HubSpot. And I just appreciate taking the time.
Yeah.
I know in your busy schedule. First of all, I'd just like to thank you because I know probably more than anybody else, you realize what a difficult recession this was and how hard it's been on businesses. And the neat thing about what you've done is I think you've brought back fun and growth to small business. And so, I just want to thank you for that.
Well, it was, for all of us, it's been a very interesting road. You'll find that I don't ever use the phrase SEO, and I almost never say content marketing, almost never say inbound marketing, because that's not what businesses form a relationship with. But if you go to a business and you say, how great are you at teaching other people? And they're like, now I got to think about that. Are you the best communicator out there? Are you more helpful than anybody else in solving people's problems? But if you come out and say, are you good at blogging and do you blog? They're not going to develop a relationship with that. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so for me, it's never a part of the conversation. Even though I might write online, people might see me and they see me, I say content marketing. When I speak to businesses, I almost never say the phrases because it's not relevant to them. It's really not what we're talking about. It's much deeper than that.
Because you kind of lose them and they can relate to the whole teaching aspect.
That's correct.
Yeah. Obviously, I've read a lot of your stuff. I've watched some of your presentations. I think you've read a lot of the motivational speakers. Like Zig Ziglar, and read some of those. How much did that kind of training and that inspire you as far as the inbound and the whole sales line?
Well, okay, so that's a great question because if we look at those greats, and to me, one of my heroes is Dale Carnegie.
Yep.
And Dale Carnegie wrote that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, which I think is one of the greatest 5 books ever written.
I agree.
And when you really look at that, it's teaching us how to communicate and how to create special relationships, right? And putting value into those relationships. So he talked about that. And then you hear a lot of people talking about social media and content marketing or inbound marketing, just like we were just saying.
Yep.
And they don't apply those same principles. And see, we're all saying the same thing. We just got to boil it down in a way that we get everybody. Because like I said, if you strip the words out of social media marketing, if you strip the words inbound marketing, content marketing, what are we left with? And my argument is we're left with really 4 words. Can we listen better than anybody else and hear the questions that our prospects, our customers are thinking, feeling, saying, the problems that they have, listening. Number 2, can we communicate in a way that they really get it, that they understand it? Number 3, can we teach it in a way that the light bulb comes on and they say, yes, now I know the solution to my problem? And then number 4, can we be more helpful than anybody else in solving those problems? Those things have been around since the beginning of time. They're nothing new. Now we're just trying to figure out how to leverage them on a digital side of the game. And so we have a lot of fancy words for it, but ultimately that's what we're doing.
And you're right. I mean, in the first chapter, Dale Carnegie's book, all those things are covered. It's
That's
just
correct.
human relationships.
Yep.
I'm amazed how many people still don't get that.
Still don't get it.
And we're just transferring a lot of that onto the web. And
yeah, I mean, if you read there's 2 ways to read a book, right? You can read the book to get through it, or you can read the book so it goes through you. And the moment a book becomes you versus you just getting through the book, it's like you understand it at a different level. You don't apply it just to, it's like somebody could have read How to Win Friends and Influence People and they said, well, this is just about winning friends. Or you could have read it and you could say, this is truly life success principles that I will apply to business, to family, da-da-da-da-da-da. It goes on and on.
Yep. Well, let's get to the industrial stuff for our industrial marketing friends. I get this question a lot, and every time I talk about content marketing, they get a little bit scared. And is inbound marketing or content marketing becoming too competitive for industrial marketers to find success? I get that question a lot.
Okay, so there's 2 answers to this question.
Yeah.
2 answers to this question. If I was to say to you, do you think that it's worth your time to be a good teacher in your industry? Do you think anybody would say no? if I ask anybody in the industrial industry, do you think it's important that you're more helpful than any of your competitors when it comes to generating trust from prospects and clients? Nobody's going to say, no, that's not important. Mm-hmm. But then when we say inbound marketing, all of a sudden everybody says, well, it's getting too competitive. I'm like, you're missing the whole point of the thing. This is the ultimate quest for us to become so good that we think exactly like our customers. And if they're on our websites, or if they are looking at us at any point in time, they feel comfortable and they say, these guys get me, they understand my problems, they are educated enough to show me the solutions to my problems, and I want to use them. Second answer, the industrial industry is way behind on this.
No kidding.
And so it's kind of like the pool industry. And so if you were coming to me and you were saying, is it easy to grow your internet presence if you're talking about marketing? Well, that's hard to do because everybody and anybody that is in that does consulting, that has a marketing agency or whatever, is writing about it on their websites all the time. There's a ton of content, so it's a lot more difficult because they're the first, right? Yeah. The industry, when it comes to the industrials, really, I mean, no, it's not even close to saturation yet. So there's huge opportunity, but there will be huge opportunity when everybody's doing it still, because the cream always rises.
Yeah, and it's no different than any other industrial company or any company. The company that puts the best sales staff out there is probably going to grow the best. The company that puts the best and most helpful content out there, particularly in the industrial community, is going to win.
That's right.
How does the little guy, the smaller industrial business-to-business guy that, okay, he really understands content marketing, he gets it, maybe he's reviewed HubSpot a little bit, how does he get started?
Well, keep in mind, being a little guy is an advantage. It's not a disadvantage, because I talked about this a little bit today. I love to talk about this. At more than any other time in the history of the world, we have the story of David and Goliath reliving itself over and over and over again. Because Goliath are the bigger companies or the slower companies that have too much red tape, and if they want to produce a video or write an article, they say, well, it's got to go through the lawyers, and then it's got to go through the board, and then it's got to go through 3 editors, and then maybe we might put it up on the site. Whereas the small business can say, as I did with River Pools, or I do with all my clients, we want to get it done? Let's put it up there today. No bottlenecks, nothing slowing us down. So we can be digital Davids. We can be nimble, quick, fast, and we can think outside the box. We can do it differently than it's ever been done before. That's a huge advantage.
I agree.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Now, how do you get started? Well, I mean, this can vary, but ultimately you have to first say to yourself, are we incredible teachers on our website? Because we know people are vetting you through your website. If you're not an incredible teacher, if you've not addressed all their questions, especially the ones that you get all the time, well, then you're asking them, you're essentially inviting them to leave and go somewhere else and then maybe come back to you later. So that's where it starts. You got to be great with content. Like you were telling me earlier today, you've seen a lot of people produce what is a good website, but because it doesn't have enough content, in other words, it's not a good teaching, user-friendly website, then it doesn't make people happy. Remember, the number one definition, and I've polled thousands of people on this, of what is a great website is, I want to find what I'm looking for, and I want to find it quickly. And if they go to your website, they ain't saying, I want to see some awesome looking website, and I want to enjoy it. It's not what they're saying. I've polled enough people. Everybody says, when they say, well, I want it to be easily navigable. Well, that means they can find what they're looking for. Well, I don't want it to be cluttered. That means they can find what they're looking for. That's what they're trying to say with everything, and that's ultimately our purpose for going online.
No doubt, no doubt. Okay, for the larger business-to-business industrial marketer, again, he gets it. He's got maybe some more resources than the smaller guy.
Yeah.
How do you recommend they get started in terms of, do they hire an inbound professional? Do they use an inbound agency, or do they some sort of hybrid?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of models. I think, here's the thing. I'm a firm believer that the company themselves has to contribute in terms of the content.
Yes.
In other words, if you try to write about my business, it's just not going to go that well. You might be able to do it, but unless you interview me, unless you really get into my soul, then it's not going to reflect who I am. Your content is the digital soul of your business. It should reflect you well. If it doesn't reflect you well, if it's not truly who you are, well, then we're missing the mark, right? And so a big company has some major advantages as well if they decide to be a digital David. Remember, you can be big and still be a David. You can be quick and nimble as a big company. And so what they should do is what I call insourcing. And insourcing is leveraging your existing staff, the ones that answer questions every day, the ones that are talking to prospects and clients every day, and use them as their teachers. Help marketing draw out all that intellectual property that you already have on staff. It's crazy to me, Tom, that we pay salespeople to answer questions all day online, and they answer questions face-to-face, but we don't use that same information on the company website. It's a tragedy, and it's one of the greatest losses financially happening in the world right now, and companies don't even know it because they don't realize the connection. You need to eliminate the silo that is marketing and sales. You need to put them together in this way, the ability for sales to get leads that are way more advanced in terms of the funnel, way more qualified, quicker sales cycles, better margins. It all has to do with what's happening on the front end.
Yep, I agree. Again,
Interesting for leaders that are willing to say it like it is, to be honest and transparent. And when I say leaders, I'm not talking about political per se. I'm talking about in every single industry, we're looking for those types of people that are willing to say really how it is. And they truly have the best interests at heart of, in this case, what is the prospect or the customer, not the business, the bottom line. Because there's a lot of people that have been jaded out there, right? A lot of people have been jaded. The businesses that are great when it comes to this digital marketing process and earning trust today, they say, how have people been jaded? How can we change that? Like we were talking about this morning with CarMax. You change the game, you eliminate their fears, their concerns, and all of a sudden you have a thriving business.
and I think there's an absolute powder keg of opportunity for industrial companies because of that dynamic, but also, particularly with industrial companies, they have longer tail keywords, and hardly any segment in the industrial market has tons of content. So that content saturation index that you talk about in your book is very low for every single industry. For example,
for the industrial industry, we're talking, it's the digital Wild West.
Exactly.
And there is a group of Sooners that are headed out right now to claim their land. Those that do not, they will be the next Kmart of their industry.
I understand that Marcus may have talked about some concepts here that maybe you're not familiar with. What I would encourage you to do is go to Marcus's website, thesaleslion.com.
Thesaleslion.com. That's right. L-I-O-N. The Sales Lion.
And download Inbound and Content Marketing Made Easy. It's right on the front page. It's right in the middle. You can't miss it.
No, you can't. My pleasure.
Appreciate the time.
Yeah, buddy.
Welcome to Kalamazoo, and I hope to see you back here.
Love it. Love the zoo, man.
It's a great zoo. See ya.